Hey guys, it's Lotus and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to continue on with our Urha read-along. So now we're up to chapter 10. Let's jump right into it. Let me just start some music. Hey, chapter 10. This venerable one goes on his first mission. Ooh. Fortunately for Moran, Chu Wanning had not heard much of his play pretend Zoi Xing, and he managed to scrape by with some made-up nonsense, but only just. It was already very late by the time Moran got back to his room. He took a nap and attended morning classes as usual the next day. After morning classes came his favorite morning activity, breakfast. As morning classes ended, Mengpo Hall gradually filled with people. Moran sat across from Shimei. Shui Meng had come late, and the spot next to Shimei had already been taken by someone else, so he could only sit reluctantly next to Moran with a gloomy face. If Moran were asked what the best aspect of Shizun Peak's teachings was to him, he would definitely say that this sex cultivation doesn't require fasting. Unlike the lofty, ethereal sex of the upper cultivation world, Shizun Peak's cultivation method didn't require abstinence from meat or any other foods, so the food here had always been sumptuous. Moran drank from a bowl of savory, spicy soup, slurping up the peanut crumbs and crunchy soybean inside. A plate of crisply yellowed pan-fried buns he'd ordered just for Shimei sat in front. Shui Meng glanced sideways at Moran and said mockingly, "Moran, it's really quite incredible that you went to Red Lotus Hell and actually managed to walk back out on your own two legs. Truly inspirational." Moran responded without even bothering to lift his head. "Of course! Who do you think I am?" "Who do I think you are?" Shui Meng sneered. "Just because Shizun didn't break your legs, you've already gotten which stick of onion you are?" "Oh, so I'm a stick of onion. What are you then?" Shui Meng scoffed. "I am Shizun's top disciple." "Self-proclaimed? Hey, why don't you go ask Shizun for his seal of approval so you can frame it and hang it on the wall? You owe at least that much to your title of top disciple." Shui Meng snapped his chopsticks with a crack. Shimei hastened to play mediator. "Please don't fight. Hurry and eat." Shui Meng, "Huh." Moran mimicked him with a shit-eating grin plastered on his face. "Huh." Shui Meng bristled, smacking the table. "How dare you!" Seeing the situation rapidly deteriorating, Shimei hurriedly held Shui Meng back. "Young master, everyone's eating. Eat, don't fight." These two's birth characters were truly incompatible. They were cousins but ended up fighting every time they met. Shimei tried without success to talk Shui Meng down, and had to resort to physically wedging himself between the two to ease the tension, placating left and right. Now asking Shui Meng, "Young master, do you know when the madam's cat is going to give birth?" Shui Meng answered, "Oh, you mean Ali? Mom was mistaken. It's not pregnant, it just had a big belly from eating too much." Then asking Moran, "Aran, do you still have to go to Shizun's place to do chores today?" "Shouldn't have to anymore. Everything that needed to be tidied up has been tidied. I'll help you with copying the sec rules today." Shimei laughed. Do you even have time to help me? Don't you have to copy them 100 times yourself?" Shui Meng raised his eyebrow, looking with some astonishment at Shimei, who usually didn't even put a single toe out of line. "How did you end up having to copy the rules too?" Shimei looked embarrassed. All of a sudden, before he could speak, the sounds of conversation in the dining hall died down abruptly. All three of them turned around to see Chu Wanning enter Mengpo Hall, white robes billowing behind him. He walked to the food counters without any expression and started selecting pastries. There were more than 1,000 people here eating in the hall, but with the addition of just one Chu Wanning, it suddenly became quiet as a graveyard. All the disciples lowered their heads to munch on their food. If anyone talked, it was in the quietest of tones. Watching Chu Wanning carry his tray to the corner he usually sat at, quietly eating kanji by himself, Shimei let out a soft sigh and couldn't help but say, "Actually, I feel kind of sorry for Shizun sometimes." Moran glanced up. "How so?" "Just look. No one dares to go near where he's sitting. No one even dares to talk loudly with him around. It was still okay when the Peak Lord was here, but without him around, he doesn't even have anyone to talk to. Isn't that so lonely?" Moran humped. He brought it on himself. Shuemeng got angry again. How dare you mock Shizun? How am I mocking him? I'm just speaking the truth. Moran put another bun in Shinmei's plate. With a temper like that, who would want to hang out with him? You... The shit-eating grin was back on Moran's face as he peered at Shuemeng, speaking lazily. You got a problem with it? Feel free to go sit with Shizun for your meals then. Don't sit with us. That shut Shuemeng right up. He felt great respect for Chu Wanning, but he felt even greater fear. No different from anyone else. Angry and humiliated, but having nothing to say in retaliation, he gave the table leg 2 sound kicks and sulked by himself. Moran was the picture of languid smugness, tauntingly directing a glance at the little phoenix. Then his gaze across the crowd landed on Chu Wanning. He didn't know why, but looking at the only white-colored figure in the hall full of people dressed in deep blue with silver armor, he suddenly thought of that person sleeping curled up among the pile of cold metal last night. Shinmei wasn't wrong. Chu Wanning really was quite pitiful. But what of it? The more pitiful he was, the happier Moran would be. Thinking about it, he couldn't help the quirk at the corner of his lips growing more apparent. The days flew by. Chu Wanning didn't call him to the Red Lotus Pavilion again. Moran's daily chores became idle things like washing the dishes, feeding the chicks and ducklings Madame Wang kept, and weeding the medicinal herb garden. The month of confinement was over in the blink of an eye. Today, Madame Wang called Moran to Loyalty Hall. She asked while patting his head, "Aran, how are your injuries?" Moran responded with a smile. "Thanks for worrying about me, Aunt. I'm all healed now." "That's good. Be more mindful in the future. Don't make such big mistakes and anger your Shizun again, understand?" Moran was an expert at acting pitiful. "Aunt, I understand." "And one more thing," Madame Wang retrieved the letter from the yellow rosewood small table. "It's been a full year since you entered the sect. That means it's time for you to take on exorcism duties. This letter from your uncle came by messenger pigeon yesterday. His instructions are for you to go down the mountain and complete this assignment once your confinement period ends." Shisheng Peak's customs dictated that disciples had to go see the world and gain practical hands-on experience as exorcists after 1 full year in the sect. On the first mission, the Shizun would accompany the disciple and provide assistance as necessary. In addition, the disciple also needed to invite a few disciples along. This was to encourage camaraderie between the disciples, so that they understand the meaning of loyalty of the heart evident, life or death unchanging. Moran, bright-eyed, accepted the assignment letter, tore it open, read in a hurry, and immediately started grinning in glee. Madame Wang said, worried, "Aran, your uncle entrusted you with a heavy responsibility for your mission in the hopes that you will be able to make a name for yourself. Yu Heng Elder is a powerful cultivator, but swords are indiscriminate in battle. He may not necessarily be able to protect you. Don't fool around too much, and make sure you don't take the enemy lightly." I won't! Moran waved his hands, grinning. "Don't worry, Aunt. I'll take care of myself, no problem." And he immediately ran off to pack. This child. Madame Wang watched his retreating back, her gentle and graceful face lined with worry. How is he so happy over just receiving a mission? How could Moran not be happy? The mission from his uncle was to look into an incident at Butterfly Town at the request of a certain landlord Chen. Who cared what kind of ghost or ghoul it was? What was important was that, in the last lifetime, this was where he had fallen under the influence of a demonic poison and, in an addled state, forcibly kissed Shinmei within the illusory realm. It had also been one of the very few times Moran had gotten to be so intimate with Shinmei. He was so ecstatic he was practically on cloud 9. On top of that, because he had been under the influence of the demonic poison, Shinmei couldn't even have complained. Free kiss! No consequences attached. Moran was so happy his eyes curved into crescents. He didn't even mind the fact that Chu Wanning also had to come along on the mission. He could even leave the exercising to the master while he flirted with Shinmei, who would say no to this kind of easy work. After inviting Shinmei and reporting to Shizun, the three made their way to the troubled Butterfly Town on galloping horses. This town's specialty produce was flowers. Fields of flowers stretched for many kilometers outside the residential area, and butterflies of all colors always fluttered about inside the town, thus the name. It was already night by the time the three arrived, but the village entrance was bustling with activity. The beating of drums could be heard loud and clear as a procession of performers, all dressed in red and playing the shawm, turned out of an alleyway. Shimei was puzzled. Is this a marriage procession? Why is it at night? Chuaning said, it's a ghost marriage. Ghost marriage, also known as yin marriage, was a tradition among the common people to match unmarried men and women who had died young in posthumous matrimony. This kind of tradition was rare in poorer areas, but Butterfly Town was quite prosperous, so the practice was common here. The showy procession was divided into two lines, one carrying real satins and silks, the other carrying paper money and mock ingots, escorting a sedan decorated in red and white. The procession, lit with golden lanterns, made its way out of the village. Moran's group reined in their horses and stood to the side to let the ghost marriage procession pass. The sedan came near. Inside was not a live person, but a ghost bride made of paper. The ghost bride's lips were painted a bright scarlet, 2 lines of red on her cheeks framing a deathly pale face, the smiling appearance extremely frightening. What kind of lousy tradition is this? Is money burning a hole in this town's pocket or what? Moran muttered under his breath. Chuaning said, the people of Butterfly Town are extremely superstitious. It is their belief that solitary graves will attract lone souls and stray spirits, bringing misfortune to the family. That's not actually a thing, right? It is real as long as the townfolk believe it to be. Moran sighed. I guess. Butterfly Town's been around for hundreds of years already. If one were to now tell them that their superstitions don't actually exist, they probably wouldn't be able to accept it. Shimei asked in a quiet tone, where is the ghost marriage procession going? Chuaning said, we passed the temple earlier. The one enshrined inside was not a god, and there was a she character posted on the door. The altar was piled with red satin written with match made in heaven, harmony in the afterlife, and the like. I believe that's probably their destination. I also noticed that temple. Shimei looked pensive. Shizun is the one enshrined within a ghost mistress of ceremonies? That is correct. The ghost mistress of ceremonies was a ghost personage born of the imagination of the common people. They believed that marriage between the souls of the departed also needed to go through the proper customs and be witnessed by a mistress of ceremonies to certify that the pair of deceased had become husband and wife. Since ghost marriage was a common tradition at Butterfly Town, it followed that they would make a golden body for the ghost mistress of ceremonies to be enshrined before the cemetery outside town. The families holding ghost marriages would stop by the ghost bride to worship at the temple before the burial. Moran had rarely seen such ridiculous happenings before, and watched with great interest, but Chuaning only gave a brief, detached glance before turning his horse around. Let's go. We must check on the family that's been haunted. 3 honored Daozang, I've suffered so much. You finally come. If someone hadn't come to take care of this soon, I wouldn't even want to live anymore. The client who had requested Shishong Peak to come and perform the exorcism was the richest merchant in the town, Landlord Chen. The Chen family dealt in perfumed powder and had 4 sons and a daughter. After the eldest son's marriage, he and his wife had sought to move out, as his wife disliked the noise in the family. The Chen family had riches and reputation to spare, so they'd purchased a large plot of land at a secluded area by the northern mountain. It even had a natural hot spring pond, quite a nice spot. But the day they began building there, they had only gotten a couple shovels into it before hitting something hard. The wife was moved over to take a look, only to immediately swoon from fright. They had somehow dug up a brand new, red-painted coffin at the northern mountain. Butterfly Town had a designated burial grounds. All the deceased were buried there, but this solitary coffin had inexplicably shown up at the northern mountain. Not only that, there was no grave or marker, and the entire coffin had been painted blood red. Ooh. Of course, they didn't dare proceed any further, and hurriedly covered it back up. But it was already too late. Ever since that day, strange things kept happening to the Chens. First, it was that daughter-in-law of mine, Landlord Chen lamented. The fright affected her baby and she miscarried. Then it was my eldest son. He went into the mountain to collect medicinal herbs to help his wife recover, but slipped and fell, and by the time we found him, he was already dead. He let out a long sigh and waved his hand, too choked up to continue. Madame Chen dabbed at her tears with a handkerchief. My husband is right. In the months after that, our sons met with mishaps, one after another. If not disappearance, then death. Of our 4 sons, 3 are already gone. Chuanning's brows were furrowed as he glanced past the Chen couple, gaze landing on the pale-faced youngest son. He looked to be about the same age as Moran, 15 or 16, and had delicate features, but they were now twisted with fear. Shumei said, Would you mind telling us how the other sons, how they died? Madame Chen sighed. Your second son went to look for his brother and was bitten by a snake on the way. It was just a regular grass snake, not poisonous, so no one paid it any mind at the time, but a couple days later he just fell over while eating and then... She let out a sob. My son! Shumei exhaled, feeling terrible for having to push. Then, were there signs of poisoning on the body? Ha! What poison? Our family's definitely been cursed. The older sons are all dead. The youngest is next. The youngest son is next. Chuaning frowned, gaze moving to Madame Chen with lightning speed. How do you know that the youngest son is next and not yourself? Does this malicious spirit only kill men? The youngest son of the Chen family cowered to the side, legs shaking and eyes swollen like peaches. Even his voice squeaked and contorted as he said, It's me! It's going to be me! I know it! The person in the red coffin is coming! He's coming! Dao Zhang, save me! Dao Zhang, save me! He began to lose it as he spoke, scrambling over to try and hug Chuanning's thigh. Chuanning had always been averse to physical contact with strangers and immediately sidestepped it. He lifted his head to stare at the Chen couple. What exactly is this all about? The couple exchanged a glance and spoke with a trembling voice. There's a place in this house. We're afraid to go near it again. Dao Zhang will understand when he sees. It's truly evil. Truly. Chuanning interrupted them. What place? They hesitated for a moment, then pointed toward the ancestral shrine room with trembling hands. There! Chuanning led the way, followed closely by Moran and Shumei. The Chen family trailed after at a distance. Pushing open the door, the inside looked no different from the ancestral shrines of other big families, with rows of memorial tablets flanked on both sides by pale candle fire. All the tablets in the room were painted yellow, with the names and positions of the departed engraved thereon. The writing was neat and careful. Esteemed spirit of so-and-so ancestor, esteemed spirit of so-and-so ancestor. Except for a tablet right in the middle, the lettering on that one wasn't carved and painted, but written in a vivid red. Spirit of Chen Yangji, erected by living person of the Chen Sun clan. The Chen family, who had been hiding behind the Daozhang, peeked into the shrine room that was draped in fluttering white silks, perhaps hoping for a fluke. But the letters on the tablet were still there, as if written in blood, and they broke down immediately. Madame Chen wailed loudly, and the youngest son's face was so pale he hardly even looked alive. First, the lettering on this tablet did not conform to the traditional system of rites. Second, the writing was extremely messy, as if the person had been about to fall asleep and struggling to write so much that it was nearly illegible. Shumei turned his head and asked, Who is Chen Yanji? The youngest son, voice shaking with sobs, answered from behind him, It's me! Landlord Chen wept as he spoke. Dao Zhang, it's like this. Ever since our second son passed, we noticed that a new tablet had been added to the ancestral shrine, but that the names written on it were those of living people from our family. Once a name appears, that person will definitely meet with disaster within 7 days. When our third son's name appeared on the tablet, I shut him in his room and sprinkled incense dust by the door, and even got someone to come perform thaumaturgy. Thaumaturgy. I don't know how to pronounce that. Some type of ritual. We tried everything, but on the 7th day, he still died. No cause whatsoever, just died. He became more emotional and more afraid the more he spoke, even dropping to his knees as well. I've never committed any wrongdoings in my life. Why must the heavens treat me so? Why? Shumei's heart ached for him, and he hurriedly went to comfort the old man who was crying to the heavens. He looked up and called softly, Shizun, this... Chuanning hadn't even turned around. He was still staring at that tablet with great interest, as if flowers were about to bloom from it. Suddenly, Chu Wanning asked, "Living person, Chen Sun clan, is that referring to you, Madam Chen?" Author's notes. Once upon a time, there was a cold-blooded demon Shizun. The demon Shizun had 3 disciples. They all had very Mary Sue titles: the Phoenix of Bashu, Shui Zhiming, the restored soul of the corporal dragon Mo Wei Yu, and the dormant white tiger Shi Ming Jing. The above titles were all bogus. They should actually be Bird Thing Shui Meng Meng, Dog Thing Mo Feed Fish, put on Wei Yu, and White Lotus Shimei, shrugs. Even the author likes to poke fun at the characters, at the cast of characters. So, in this chapter, Shimei, Moran, and Chu Wanning set off on an exorcism assignment. They come upon the Chen family, and apparently the family is being haunted by this malicious spirit, which they can't really figure out who or why, but I'm pretty sure they're not telling us everything they need, everything that they actually know. So let's continue on and see what happens. Why is the 3rd son of the Chen family being targeted? Chapter 11. This venerable one is gonna smooch. Rejoice! Moran. Okay. Yes, it's me. Madam Chen wept. But I didn't write on the tablet. Why would I curse my own child? Indeed, you would not have done it while awake, but that's not necessarily true when asleep. Chu Wanning lifted his hand to pick up the memorial tablet as he spoke, channeling spiritual energy into his palm. Suddenly, blood-curdling screams erupted from the tablet, followed immediately by the heavy, festering scent of the blood trickling forth from it. Chu Wanning's eyes were cold and piercing, voice stern as he said, "Arrogant wicked spirit, daring to run thus rampant." Against the heavy spiritual power gathered in his palm, the writing on the tablet was actually forced to recede bit by bit, screaming. It soon became faded, and finally vanished altogether. Chu Wanning squeezed with his pale, slender fingers, and the entire memorial tablet shattered. Ooh. The Chen family, watching from the back, was stunned. Even Shumei was stunned. He couldn't help exhaling. How impressive! Moran also couldn't help internally exhaling. How vicious! Chu Wanning's face turned slightly in their direction. His elegant features were devoid of expression, but there were a few specks of blood that had splattered on his cheek. He lifted his hand to examine the blood on his fingertips before speaking to the Chen family. All of you stay in the courtyard today. Do not go anywhere. Of course, none of them dared to do anything but comply after that display, and promptly answered, Yes, we'll obey Dao Zhang's every instruction. Chu Wanning strode out of the shrine room, wiping the bloodstains off his face indifferently. He lifted a finger to point at Madam Chen. Especially you. Do not fall asleep under any circumstance. That thing is capable of possession. You must remain awake, no matter how drowsy. Yes. Madam Chen agreed repeatedly, then asked tearily with a measure of hesitance, Dao Zhang, then my son, is he safe? For now. Madam Chen stared blankly. For now? Not always? Then what must be done to keep my son safe? Chu Wanning said, Capture the demon. In her panicked worry, Madam Chen forgot her manners and threw courtesy aside to ask urgently, And just when is Dao Zhang planning to go capture it? Right now. Chu Wanning's gaze swept over the Chen family. Oh, my voice is giving out now. Okay, sorry. Chu Wanning's gaze swept over the Chen family. Which of you knows the exact place that the red coffin was dug up from? Lead the way. The surname of the eldest son's wife was Yao. Despite being a woman, she was tall and gallant. Her face showed dread as well, but she was relatively calm compared to the others, and immediately offered, I know the location. Since that place was selected by my late husband and myself, I will guide Dao Zhang. The 3 of them followed Chen Yao, heading northward the entire way, and quickly arrived at the plot of land purchased by the Chens. The area was already cordoned off. The plants were dark and overgrown, and there was nobody around for miles. It was completely silent, with not even the sounds of birds and insects present. Halfway up the mountain, the space suddenly opened up into a clearing. Chen Yao said, 3 honored Dao Zhang, this is the place. There was a grave suppression rock on top of where the red coffin had been dug up. Moran burst out laughing at the sight of it. What good is that crappy rock gonna do? Clearly the work of amateurs, toss it aside. Chen Yao was apprehensive. But the mister from the town said that the demonic beast inside holds the evil spirit down to keep it from getting out. Moran smiled sarcastically. That mister sure has been effective so far. Chen Yao said, Toss! Just toss it! Chuaning said coldly, No need. He lifted his hand, fingertips glowing golden as Tianwen answered the call. A single flick of the willow vine and the rock was cracked into pieces. Expressionless, Chuaning walked over to stand among the debris and raised his hand once again in a threat. What are you hiding for? Get the hell up. A strange g-g sound came from below. Suddenly, a 12 feet tall wooden coffin burst forth from the ground, spraying earth everywhere, sending dust flying. Startled, Shumei said, This coffin has such heavy demonic energy. Chuaning said, Fall back. Tianwen struck the tightly sealed red coffin in a backhanded slashing, sending sparks flying. There was a moment of silence, then the lid of the coffin split open, and the object inside was revealed as the thick smoke dispersed. Inside the coffin was a man, completely naked. He had a straight nose and handsome features, and would have looked as if he were merely asleep, if not for the paper-pale whiteness of his skin. Moran's gaze loomed below the man's waist. Then he made a show of covering his eyes. Moran, Aiya, that stinky jackass isn't wearing any pants. Shumei, Chuaning, both have nothing to say. They're super embarrassed. Chen Yao called out in surprise, Husband! She made to rush toward the coffin without a second thought. Chuaning reached out to hold her back, asking with a raised eyebrow, This is your husband? Yes, he's my husband! Chen Yao was stricken with both fear and grief. How did he end up here? We definitely interred him at the ancestral grave, fully dressed in burial clothes. How did he? She started wailing before she could finish, beating her chest in anguish. How could this happen? So wretched! So wretched! My husband! My husband! Shumei sighed. Mistress Chen, please refrain your grief. Chuaning and Moran both ignored the weeping woman. Chuaning didn't know how to comfort people, and Moran had no compassion to speak of. The two of them stared at the corpse in the coffin. Moran had already gone through this in the previous lifetime, and so knew more or less what was coming. But he still had to act his part, so he noted, stroking his chin, Shizun, something's fishy about this corpse. Chuaning, I know. Moran originally had an entire speech planned out, ripped directly from Chuaning's original explanation and analysis from the previous lifetime. He'd wanted to take it out this lifetime and give Chuaning a shock, but who would have thought that he'd just casually throw out an I know? As a teacher, wasn't he supposed to encourage his disciples to speak their own thoughts and give praise and reward for doing so? Moran wasn't giving up. He pretended not to have heard the I know and kept going. There was no sign of decomposition on this corpse. Chen Gongzi died over half a month ago. In this kind of environment, he should have long since started festering and leaking pus, and there should already be a layer of corpse fluid accumulated in the coffin. This is the first point. Chuaning shot a cold, you may continue kind of look at him. Second, Moran was unaffected and continued to recite Chuaning's explanation from the previous lifetime. The demonic energy coming off this red coffin was very strong before it opened, but conversely vanished after opening. Moreover, there is practically no demonic energy on the corpse itself, which is also quite abnormal. Chuaning, ... Third, have you noticed that ever since the moment the coffin was opened, there has been a sweet fragrance in the wind? The scent was very subdued. One would not have noticed it at all without paying careful attention. At Moran's words, Shumei and Chen Yao realized that there was indeed a faint sweet smell in the air. Shumei said, You're right. Chen Yao sniffed, her face changing color. This fragrance! Shumei asked, Mistress Chen, what is it? Chen Yao was so scared that even her voice changed tone. This fragrance is my mother-in-law's secret recipe, 100 butterfly fragrance. No one spoke for a moment. That line written on the memorial tablet in the shrine room, erected by a living person of the Chen Sun clan, seemed to appear before their eyes. Shumei spoke. Could it be that this whole thing really is Madame Chen's doing? Moran said, It's unlikely. Chuaning said, It is not. The two spoke at nearly the same time, then looked at each other. Chuaning's expression remained even. You go ahead. Moran spoke without modesty. As far as I know, the Chen family made their fortune on the Madam's unique 100 butterfly fragrance. Its recipe is kept secret, but the finished product is not hard to obtain. Of every 10 girls in Butterfly Town, 5 or 6 wear this fragrance. In addition, we looked into this beforehand, and it seems that Chen Gongzi also quite liked his mother's 100 butterfly fragrance, and often mixed it into his bathwater when bathing. So it is not all strange that his body carries this scent. What is strange is that he turned his head back toward the naked man in the coffin as he spoke. He's already been dead for half the month, but this fragrance is fresh, as if it's been freshly applied. Am I right, Shizun? Chuaning, ... Could you just praise me a little if I'm right? Moran laughed. You really don't like to waste words. He'd hardly gotten 2 chuckles in before it was lost in a flurry of robes, billowing as Chuaning grabbed him and swiftly moved them back several feet. In his hand, Chen Wen glowed brightly golden, firelight dancing. Look out. The smell of 100 butterfly fragrance in the air suddenly thickened, a white fog materializing as the scent filled the air, spreading with alarming speed. The entire area became a sea of fog almost instantly, so dense that one could not even see the fingers on their own hand. Moran's heart stirred. The illusory realm was opening. Ah! Chen Yao's shriek was the first thing to be heard in the thick fog. Dao Zhang, help! She did not get to finish speaking before the sound was suddenly cut off. Chuaning's fingertip glowed blue as he placed a tracking enchantment on Moran's forehead. You be careful while I go check out the situation. Then he quickly disappeared into the thick fog, following the direction of the voice. Moran touched his forehead, laughing in a low voice. Well, well, even the position of the enchantment is exactly the same as the last lifetime. Chuaning, you really haven't changed at all. The fog had come fast, but it dispersed just as quickly, and was completely gone before long. The scene that revealed itself before him, however, was even more startling than the fog was, and at least Moran had gotten quite the scare out of it in the last lifetime. When the fog disappeared, the desolate and overgrown mountain was gone. In its place was a vast expanse of intricate and elegant landscape gardens, pavilions and winding verandas, rock gardens and verdant trees, with a cobblestone path stretching beyond what the eye could see. The mere sight of this place made Moran want to roll on the floor in joy. This tyrannical jackass had been thinking about this very illusory realm the entire day. In the previous life, they'd all become separated here as well. Moran had run into Shimei first, and under the hypnosis of the illusion, had kissed him for the first and only time in his life. Unfortunately, that time, Shimei had run away as soon as Moran had let go, perhaps out of fright. The sweet nectar had been taken away before he barely even got a taste of it, and he was left unsatisfied. Later, after the illusory realm had been broken, Shimei hadn't even fussed over this matter with him. It was as if the kiss had never even happened, and neither of them had ever brought it up again. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, Moran had wondered if it had just been a fantasy born of his deep obsession. Fantasy or not, Moran thought as he licked his lips, Shimei is not getting away that easily this time. I'm gonna get my fill of smooches all at once. How shameless! Moe you! Okay, author's notes. According to historical facts, courtesy names are received at age 20. However, in this cultivation world, one debuts and receives their courtesy name at age 15. I personally really like the 3 characters in Moe Yu. They look more beautiful than Moran, so I wanted to present them sooner, ha ha ha. That's a cute little tidbit, knowledge from the author. So, we finished chapter 10 and 11, and in chapter 11, they were interrogating the Chen family. They were following one of the Chen daughter-in-laws to this coffin that they were really scared of, and out burst the body of the Chen daughter-in-law's husband, who was the eldest Chen son, right? But his body hadn't decomposed, even though he's been buried for over a month. So they're like, wow, this is suspicious. But suddenly, smoke whirls around, bursts through, envelops them, and they find themselves in a completely different landscape. So where have they gone? We will find out in the next read-along. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But while he should be terrified, Moran has more important things on his mind, specifically to smooch Shimei as much as he can, unlike the previous lifetime. So good luck, Moran. Hopefully, Chuaning doesn't hit you later for you being scandalous. But yeah, what did you think of today's read-along? Some action will be hopefully happening soon. I think they're gonna be fighting a boss or a monster soon. So we'll have to just hold on until next time, I guess. Until then, I hope you guys enjoyed and have a great day. Bye bye.